Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be diving deep into the state of fashion in 2025. And, this isn't just your typical generic trend report. No, this one. This deep dive is tailored just for you, using all the intel that you specifically requested. But before we get into all the nitty-gritty details, I want to quickly introduce our sponsor for today, Cloudfit.ai. They're a B2B fashion commerce company, and get this, they were founded by the former CPO and CTO of some major fashion e-commerce giants, like, big names you've definitely heard of. So these guys, they really know their stuff. Cloudfit.ai, that's CLOUTFIT.ai, uses cutting-edge AI to boost user engagement, and most importantly, they increase their clients' revenue. Now, if you end up finding this deep dive as fascinating as I think you will, be sure to share it with anyone who loves, the idea of smarter fashion tech. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our future deep dives. Okay, now enough about that. Let's get to the good stuff. We've got a mountain of reports and articles here.
McKinsey, Business of Fashion, Fashion Dive, Tech Space Today, and they all seem to be painting this picture of an industry that's at a crossroads.
It really is. And what I find fascinating is that we're not just talking about, hemlines and color palettes. We're talking about some really big shifts in consumer behavior. We're talking about, economic headwinds and, of course, the ever-growing role of technology.
Right, it's like the whole fashion system is being totally rewired, and the old rules, well, they just don't apply anymore. One thing that really jumped out at me was this emphasis on agility. Like, it's not enough for brands to just be stylish anymore,
Yeah.
right? They also have to be nimble, adaptable. They have to be ready to pivot as these trends unfold. It's almost like, being a trendsetter isn't enough anymore. Now you have to be a trend forecaster, too.
Exactly. And all of the sources we've looked at seem to agree that agility is key to, well, not just surviving, but thriving in this rapidly changing landscape. Like you said, it's not even about reacting to change anymore. It's about anticipating it before it happens.
Okay, so before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's zoom out a little bit and look at the big picture. What's the overall outlook for the global fashion market in 2025?
Well, the consensus seems to be that the global fashion revenue growth will be pretty sluggish in 2025. We're talking low single-digit increases, nothing to get too excited about.
So not exactly going to be a boom year, huh? But I remember reading that the profit picture is a bit more complex, right? It's not just all, doom and gloom across the board.
That's right. While the overall growth is slow, what's really intriguing is that non-luxury brands, they're actually expected to outperform luxury in terms of both revenue and profit growth.
That's true. You'd think that, during times of economic uncertainty, people would cut back on their luxury spending first, right?
Hmm.
But it seems like it's those more, accessible brands that are actually going to come out on top. Why is that?
Well, all of the reports point to those macroeconomic challenges we're facing, like inflation, geopolitical tensions, and those lingering effects of the pandemic, right? All those factors are definitely making consumers more price sensitive, regardless of income level.
So even luxury shoppers are tightening their belts a little bit.
Exactly.
Makes sense. I also remember reading that fashion executives themselves, they aren't exactly optimistic about the near future.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of caution in the air, that's for sure. The McKinsey report, that one in particular, found that only 20% of fashion executives actually expect consumer sentiment to improve in 2025. That's a pretty low number, so clearly there's a lot of uncertainty about what the future holds.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so globally things are, well, a bit shaky. Let's try to get a little bit more specific here. How's the regional landscape looking? What about Asia? China's been the fashion powerhouse for years, but it sounds like things are changing there too.
You're absolutely right. China's growth is slowing, and that is having a significant impact on luxury brands, especially. They've been relying pretty heavily on the Chinese market, and this slowdown is definitely causing some concern.
So where are the new opportunities in Asia? Is it just all about China, or are there other markets that are starting to heat up?
Well, while China definitely remains important, there are certainly other Asian markets on the rise. India, for example, is projected to see a 7% GDP growth, which makes it a very attractive target for fashion brands, particularly in those mid-market and luxury segments. Japan and Korea are also showing promise, each with their own, unique appeal and consumer base.
Okay, so Asia is still a major player in the fashion world, but the power dynamics are definitely shifting a bit. And this whole theme of a more value-conscious consumer, that seems to be playing out globally, right? It's not just about economic woes. It's a real mindset change. We're seeing the rise of resale platforms, off-price retailers, and even dupes, basically, those well-made replicas of designer items.
Absolutely. Consumers are definitely savvier than ever before. They want quality, that's for sure. But they're not necessarily willing to pay a huge premium for, just a brand name. They're looking for value, and they're willing to shop around to find it.
And this is where technology, specifically AI, can really make a difference. Like, think about the power of personalized recommendations
Mm-hmm.
or targeted marketing.
Mm.
AI-powered tools that can help shoppers find exactly what they're looking for, at the right price point.
Exactly. This is where companies like our sponsor, Cloutfit.ai, are really leading the way. They're using AI to, enhance that whole shopping experience, making it more personalized, more efficient, and more enjoyable for consumers.
It's like having a personal stylist right in your pocket.
Right.
Okay, let's shift gears for a second and talk about a demographic that's often overlooked in fashion. The over 50s. They're sometimes called the silver spenders because they hold a ton of wealth. Like, they have so much buying power.
You're right. They're a huge untapped market. In fact, one of the reports mentioned that over 72% of total U.S. population wealth is held by people over 55. That's a staggering amount of purchasing power.
Wow, yeah. And they have different needs and preferences than, those younger generations, right?
Absolutely. They're a lot less interested in trendy fads and much more focused on things like quality, comfort, and functionality. They want clothes that fit well, they want clothes that feel good, and they want clothes that will last. Think, timeless designs, durable materials, and pieces that can easily transition from one occasion to the next.
So it's less about chasing the latest trends and more about investing in those pieces that will stand the test of time.
Exactly. It's quality over quantity, finding styles that really truly reflect their personal style and their lifestyle.
Okay, let's move on to another big topic here. Sustainability. It's something everyone's talking about in fashion, but is the industry actually making any meaningful progress? Or is it just all talk?
Well, it's a bit of both, to be honest. On one hand, there's definitely a growing awareness of the need for sustainable practices.
Hmm.
Brands are experimenting with new materials, they're reducing their waste, and they're trying to make their supply chains a lot more transparent. But it's not all sunshine and roses, unfortunately. One report, I think it was TechSpace Today, revealed that a whopping 63% of brands are actually lagging behind on their 2030 decarbonization targets.
Ouch. So even with, the best intentions, actually implementing those sustainable practices is proving to be tougher than expected. Is it just a matter of cost, or are there other hurdles too?
Well, cost is definitely a factor, but it's not the only one. There are also some technological challenges, there are supply chain complexities, and there's this huge need to educate consumers about the value of sustainable products. Plus, there's this whole issue of consumer willingness to pay a premium for, eco-friendly clothing. People say they care about sustainability, but are they actually willing to put their money where their mouth is?
It's a tough balancing act for these brands. They need to
Yeah.
make sustainability both affordable and accessible while still being profitable, right? It's a challenge, but it's one they're going to have to address.
Absolutely. Consumers are becoming increasingly discerning, and they're demanding more from the brands they support. Sustainability is no longer a nice to have, it's become a must have.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, shall we?
Hmm.
AI. It's totally reshaping everything in the fashion world, isn't it? And it's not just about algorithms recommending what you should buy, right? It's impacting the design, the sourcing, the inventory management, the entire customer experience. It's like AI is this invisible hand that's guiding the future of fashion.
You're absolutely right, and we're seeing some incredible examples of how AI is being used. For instance, some sources mention these AI-powered tools that let you upload, like, a picture of an outfit that you like, and then instantly find shoppable links to similar items.
Wait, really? That's amazing. So you can be walking down the street, see someone rocking a cool look, snap a quick pic, and boom, you can buy it. Or at least something very close to it right then and there.
Exactly. It's like having a personal shopper who can instantly source, well, anything you desire.
That's mind-blowing. What else is AI doing in the fashion world?
Well, there are also platforms that are using AI to enhance contextual search. So instead of just typing in, black dress, you could search for black dress for a wedding or black dress for a summer evening. And the AI would actually understand your specific needs and preferences and then deliver those highly relevant results.
So it's like AI is actually reading your mind,
Mm-hmm.
like is anticipating your needs before you even know them yourself. This all ties back to our sponsor, Cloutfit.ai, right? They're kind of at the forefront of this whole AI revolution in fashion, and it's really exciting to see how they're helping brands navigate, this rapidly changing landscape.
They really are pioneers in this space. Their platform offers this whole suite of AI-powered solutions that are designed to, well, boost user engagement, personalize the shopping experience, and ultimately drive revenue for their clients.
Okay, let's talk about e-commerce for a minute. The pandemic led to a huge surge in online shopping, but it sounds like that boom is over. What's the current state of online fashion retail?
Well, you're right. That initial frenzy of the pandemic-driven e-commerce boom has definitely subsided. Online marketplaces are facing some headwinds, demand has slowed, customer acquisition costs are rising, and they're having to get a lot more creative to stand out in such a crowded digital space.
The Fashion Dive report had some pretty sobering stats. They said that share prices for those non-luxury online marketplaces, they've plummeted by something like 77% since 2021. That's a massive drop.
It is. It's significant. But it doesn't mean that e-commerce is dead. It's simply evolving, like everything else. Brands need to adapt, focus on creating those personalized experiences we talked about earlier, and leverage AI effectively to really connect with the right customers, at the right time.
So it's less about just having an online presence and more about having, well, a smart online presence, a strategic online presence, and an engaging online presence. Now, here's something that really caught my eye. Sportswear is having a major moment right now. It's like booming, growing faster than the overall fashion market.
Yeah.
And it's not just about, performance wear. Athleisure is huge. It's blurring the lines between what we wear to the gym and what we wear, well, everywhere else.
It's definitely one of the most dynamic segments in the entire fashion industry right now. And what's interesting is this rise of what are being called challenger brands.
Challenger brands, what are those?
We're talking about brands like Hoka, On, Vori, Alo Yoga. They're really shaking things up and taking market share from those big players like Nike and Adidas.
Wow, how are they doing that? What's the secret sauce?
Well, it's a combination of factors, really. They're focusing on innovation, creating products that meet the specific needs of certain communities. And they're building these strong brand identities that resonate with their target audiences. Plus, they're really good at leveraging social media and influencer marketing to build hype and connect with consumers on a more personal level.
It's like they're speaking the language of this new generation of consumers
Yeah.
who are looking for brands that align with their values, their lifestyles.
Exactly. It's not just about the product anymore. It's about the story. It's about the community. It's about the experience. And these challenger brands, they're really good at crafting those compelling narratives that resonate with their target audiences.
And they're not afraid to be bold and different. I mean, look at Hoka, for example. Those super cushioned, almost like cartoonishly oversized running shoes. They've become like a cult favorite, not just amongst serious runners, but also, those fashion-forward individuals who really appreciate that unique aesthetic.
They're a great example of how comfort and style can coexist, even in the world of, high-performance athletic wear.
And their financial performance really speaks for itself. Some of these challenger brands have seen their share prices just skyrocket in recent years, while some of those traditional giants, they're scrambled to keep up.
It's a real shakeup in the sportswear market, and it's fascinating to watch it all unfold. And it's another area where AI can play a key role.
Oh, how so?
Well, AI can help brands analyze trends, help them understand consumer preferences, and then design products that meet those evolving needs. It's all about staying ahead of the curve, anticipating what consumers will want next.
It's like having a crystal ball that can predict the future of fashion. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground so far. Let's take a quick pause here, and we'll come back to wrap things up in the next part of this deep dive.
It really is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's such a fascinating time to be following the fashion industry. There's just so much change happening, and it's all driven by this really complex interplay of factors. Economic conditions, consumer behavior, technological advancements, and, of course, style itself.
It's like fashion is a mirror, right?
Uh-huh.
Reflecting all the changes that are happening in society as a whole.
Okay.
Okay, before we dive back into all the specifics, let's do a quick recap of, well, all those major forces that we've uncovered so far, all the things that really shaping the fashion landscape in 2025.
Okay, sure. First, we have that overall economic uncertainty, right, leading to a more cautious consumer, especially in, regions like China where that growth has slowed. And this is putting a lot of pressure on brands to really, prove their value, cater to a more price-conscious shopper.
Which in turn is creating some really interesting opportunities for, non-luxury brands, those resale platforms, and even those, well, clever dupe makers. Those offering stylish alternatives at those more accessible price points. It's like the democratization of fashion, in a way.
Right. And geographically, we're seeing a shift in focus from China to some other really promising Asian markets like India, Japan, and Korea, which are experiencing, strong growth. And they represent some really exciting new opportunities for brands.
We also talked about the rise of, those silver spenders, those over 50 consumers who have been largely overlooked by the fashion industry, but actually hold, well, significant spending power. And they're looking for, well, different things: quality, comfort, and functionality.
Right. And of course, let's not forget about, the sustainability imperative. While there's definitely some progress being made, a lot of brands are still struggling to meet their environmental targets. And consumer willingness to actually pay a premium for eco-friendly products, that remains a big hurdle.
And then there's the technology piece, which is arguably the most transformative force of all, right? AI is impacting every single facet of the industry, from personalized recommendations and enhanced search to, supply chain optimization, and even the very process of design itself. It's allowing brands to be more agile, more efficient, and more responsive to, those consumer needs in ways that we've just never seen before.
And speaking of agility, that sportswear market is a prime example of how brands are adapting to, all these shifting trends. The rise of all those challenger brands, the blurring of those lines between athleisure and, performance wear, and the increasing use of AI to really innovate and stay ahead of the curve. It's such a dynamic and exciting space to watch.
It really is. And it actually brings us back to our sponsor for this deep dive, Cloutfit.ai. They are harnessing the power of AI to help, fashion brands navigate this complex and ever-changing landscape.
Their platform offers a whole suite of solutions, really. Solutions that are designed to boost user engagement, personalize that shopping experience, and ultimately drive revenue for their clients.
It's like having a brilliant, AI stylist working behind the scenes to ensure that brands are making those smart decisions.
Yeah.
And really connecting with their target audience in those, meaningful ways.
Quite right. And as we've seen from our exploration of, all these different reports, making those smart decisions, well, that's more critical than ever in the fashion industry.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question. We've talked a lot about those shifts in consumer behavior. They're more value conscious, they're more discerning, they're more attuned to, sustainability, and they really expect those personalized experiences. But this raises an important question. Given all of this, will brands need to fundamentally rethink their marketing strategies? For years, fashion marketing has been all about creating, aspiration, exclusivity, and that must-have feeling. But in a world where consumers are just bombarded with choices, right? Where authenticity and value are, really paramount, and where technology is empowering them to be more informed than ever, well, that old playbook might not be effective anymore.
I agree. Brands really need to find those new ways to connect with consumers on a deeper level. It's not just about selling a product anymore, right? It's about building a relationship, creating a community, and standing for something that, resonates with their target audience.
It's about understanding that consumers, they aren't just buying clothes anymore, right? They're buying into a lifestyle, a set of values, and a sense of belonging. And in a world where technology is, increasingly mediating all those connections, well, brands need to be smarter, more strategic than ever about how they communicate and engage.
Absolutely. It's about moving beyond those transactions and building genuine connections, connections that foster loyalty and advocacy.
And that brings us to another interesting point, the role of technology in shaping those connections. We've talked about the power of AI to, personalize that shopping experience. But is there a risk that we become so reliant on algorithms and data that we lose sight of, the human element of fashion? What about the joy of discovering something unique, the thrill of expressing your individuality through style, the simple pleasure of, trying something on and just falling in love with it?
It's a valid concern. We don't want fashion to become so automated and predictable that it loses its soul, its creativity, its ability to surprise and delight.
Right. There's a magic to fashion that goes beyond data points and algorithms. It's about tapping into something deeper, something emotional, something that speaks to, our desire to express ourselves and connect with others. And I think those brands that can successfully blend the power of technology with the art of human connection, well, they'll be the ones that truly win in the long run.
I completely agree. It's about finding that sweet spot where technology actually enhances the human experience rather than replacing it.
Well said. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored those global trends,
Yeah.
the regional nuances, the technological advancements, the changing consumer behaviors, and those ethical considerations that are, well, shaping the future of fashion. And one thing is clear. The fashion industry, well, it's at a pivotal moment. The choices that brands make today, they're going to have a profound impact on their success and on the industry as a whole, the years to come.
It's a time of both challenge and opportunity, and it's going to be fascinating to see how things unfold.
Okay, let's take one last pause here,
Yeah.
and we'll come back to wrap things up and leave you with, a final thought in the last part of this deep dive. Okay, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into state of fashion in 2025. And man, we've covered a lot. The economic forces, the rise of new markets, the changing consumer mindset, the sustainability imperative, and of course, the transformative power of AI. It's a lot to take in.
It really is. But I think amidst all this change, there's this sense of excitement too. Fashion has always been about evolution. It's always been about pushing those boundaries, reflecting the times we live in. And I think all these trends that we're seeing are, well, they're really pushing the industry to be, more innovative, more inclusive, more responsible, and ultimately more connected to the people it serves.
I love that. It's like, fashion's becoming more, I don't know, human,
Mhm.
more mindful, more in tune with like the needs and values of real people.
Yeah.
It's not just about, chasing trends anymore. It's about actually creating a better future,
Mhm.
both for the industry and for the planet.
Exactly. And I think that's a really powerful message, right? Fashion has this incredible ability to influence culture, to shape perceptions, to inspire change. And I think the brands that really embrace that responsibility, the ones that use their platform to make, a positive impact, they'll be the ones that truly resonate with consumers in the years to come.
Well said. Now, before we wrap things up completely, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier. That role of AI in the creative process. We've seen how AI can personalize those recommendations,
Yeah.
how it can optimize those supply chains, even help with some of those design elements. But will AI ever fully replace, those human designers? Or is there something, I don't know, something uniquely human about, like the creative spark, the intuition, the artistry that, well, that goes into fashion?
That is a great question, and it's one that's being debated all throughout the industry. There are definitely those who believe that AI will eventually be able to replicate and, even surpass human creativity, and they point to those advancements in machine learning and generative design, where AI can actually create entirely new designs, based on specific parameters and data sets.
It's kind of mind-blowing to think that, like, an algorithm could design a dress or a pair of shoes. But is it really creativity if it's just based on, pre-programmed instructions and data?
That's the crux of the debate, right? Can a machine truly be creative? Or is it simply, mimicking those patterns and trends that it's been trained on? And there's no easy answer.
I think there's something special about, human creativity, something that goes beyond logic and data. It's about intuition, inspiration, that flash of insight that comes from seemingly nowhere. It's about emotion, passion, the desire to express something unique and personal.
I agree. There's a certain, a magic to human creativity that's really hard to define, let alone replicate.
But that doesn't mean that AI can't play, a valuable role in that creative process. I think it can be an incredibly powerful tool for designers,
Yeah.
helping them to explore new ideas, to experiment with, different materials and techniques,
Yeah.
and to really push the boundaries of what's possible. It's like having this superpowered assistant that can handle, those technical aspects, freeing up the designers to focus on, well, the big picture vision and the emotional impact of their creations.
Exactly. It's about finding the right balance, that synergy between, human and machine, where each complements the other's strengths.
Like a dance between art and technology.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've squeezed every last drop of insight out of these reports. This has been, a truly fascinating deep dive. We've explored the trends, the challenges, the opportunities, and, well, those big questions that are shaping the future of fashion. And one thing is crystal clear. This industry, it's anything but boring.
Right. It's constantly evolving, reinventing itself, pushing the boundaries of, well, what's possible. It's dynamic, it's creative, and, well, it's an endlessly fascinating world.
And for our listeners who are passionate about fashion, about technology, about, the future of how we express ourselves through, what we wear, this is definitely a time to pay attention, stay curious, and be part of the conversation.
Absolutely. The future of fashion is being written right now, and, well, everyone has a role to play.
Before we say goodbye, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, CloutFit.ai. They are doing some amazing work in this space using AI to help those brands navigate the complexities of, the fashion world. and create more engaging and personalized experiences for their customers. Check them out at clutfit.ai.
They're a great example of a company that's using technology to really drive that positive change in the fashion industry.
Well said. Now, as we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought, something to ponder. As you go about your day, as you scroll through your favorite fashion apps and maybe even add a few things to your cart. We've talked a lot about the trends, the tech, the data, but at its heart, fashion is really about, self-expression.
Yeah.
It's about using clothes to tell your story, to show the world who you are and who you want to be. So as you navigate this ever-evolving world of fashion, don't forget to have fun with it, experiment, take risks, express yourself, and most importantly, wear what makes you feel good. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay stylish.